Welcome to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the big butch manly pop culture podcast that still thinks there might be one or two secret relationships left in the castle. I just think there might be.
There has to be.
I'm Andrew Wheeler.
And I'm Shane Hollon.
All right, we'll take the hoods off. It's time to talk about the finale of Traitors UK Season 4, which will include spoilers, obviously. We'll also talk a little bit about US Episode 6 at the end if we've got time. Shane, what's your initial feelings about these final 3 episodes of the season and this season as a whole?
The final 3 episodes did not disappoint. I thought they were very exciting, and they went in ways that I wasn't fully expecting, but was very happy to see. I think this may have been the best season of regular Traitors that we've ever seen.
Certainly you got the result you wanted.
I definitely did.
But it was looking touch and go there, and honestly, I was more equivocal about how it ended. I was excited to see how it ended. But I would have accepted very many different configurations of that ending. But yeah, great season, great casting. Yeah, I wonder what lessons the casting will take from this. I think that maybe the main one is you always get stuck with a few people at the end who haven't been very present. So the question is, how do you balance that with big personalities? Is there a way to have both, big personalities throughout the season and not make it unbearable to watch? Which I guess is the Traitors US, and it is often unbearable to watch. So,
Well, but those are different kinds of big personalities, right? Those are big
yes,
personalities who've already had experience being on TV and making TV, and particularly reality TV. These are like, what if we found big personalities in average people who, like, I think it's possible. And also, I'm also just not too mad about the fact that we get these arcs of like, here's a big personality and there they go. And then here comes some personalities rising and then they go. And then we get to
true.
know the people who make it to the end. Like there's something kind of charming about that. Like I really love,
Yeah.
and let's just get right into it. I really love that we got to know Jade, Faraz, and Jack at the end of this season. And they
Yeah.
all had really wonderful stories to tell. And this was just their chance to shine. It's I feel like the Traders is great for riding the wave of like, who are these people? And let's learn about some other ones.
Yeah, it's just there's always that little bit of like celebrity David phenomenon of like, when did this person arrive and why are they talking now? But
Yeah.
celebrity David is the worst version of that, I think. No one's quite as missable as David.
But I hope he's not
All right.
watching this.
I'm sure he's a great person, lovely, talented historian. He just didn't make the best TV. Let's talk about the eliminations, because to roll things back to Wednesday's episode and
Ages ago.
poor Matthew and his long wait to be recruited / seduced that ended in dismal banishment.
Oh, poor Matthew, poor Matty. I mean, I loved this man. I thought speaking of big personalities, I feel like he was a big personality on the show for quite a while. He had this wonderful arc from like the middle of the
Yes.
season almost all the way to the end. And he was very interesting. And outside of the show, he's really cool. Like he is a
Oh, yeah.
pioneer for ending conversion therapy in the UK, which I mean, bravo. We'd love to see that. He has a very popular Instagram page where he does handstands around the world nude. I mean, you're speaking my language, babe.
And he has a beautiful moustache that he's now wearing in the posted Traitors interviews. So,
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that I started the trend and other people are just catching up.
seems implausible, but who knows? And then we have Roxy's murder, I think, the same night, I suppose.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Which, I mean, the joke we've made in the past is whenever his name is on everybody's lips, we go into Roxy. But it's not been true for actual Roxy. Like the one person where this joke would make sense. The name on nobody's lips was ever Roxy. Really, like there was a little bit of heat on her at times, and then she went out, and then they revealed that her mum was Judy, just Jude, and
Which shocked everyone in
like,
the room.
who cares? The secret relationships didn't amount to anything. They didn't have anything. They didn't sway the contest.
Yeah, okay, if they learned anything from this season, it's that we need those people to get a bit further in the game together for it to have an
Yeah,
impact, and they need to be dynamic people. Like, God bless Judy, but she wasn't much of a presence on our
no,
TV screens. And same with Ellie, right? Ross. If Ross had
and
gone
Ross.
further, I think that would have been
Yeah,
a much bigger, like more fun reveal at the very end. But because he was eliminated so soon and she then kind of pivoted her game to being so quiet, it ended up being a downbeat that they were related. I would love to see like a Steven and Reese kind of dynamic, the secret boyfriends.
yes, which is something that Reese has acknowledged the rumor of on his Instagram
I
today or
love
last
that.
night.
I absolutely love
I wish it were true. It's just a joke, but maybe now's the time for them to get together.
that.
Think of the beautiful blonde babies they would have. Then the final elimination before the final eliminations. James, Rachel, the incredible round table between those two, and the tie that came down to the box of chance for what, the second time this season?
Second time that the chance chest has come out, and that is, sorry,
Yeah.
the chest of fate. Is that what it's called? I mean,
I don't know. I think they changed. Pretty sure they changed the name.
yeah.
Next time it'll be the potluck of destiny.
We have been so lucky this season to have so many like fiery roundtables where no one knows which way it's going to go, and consensus is built around two people. I mean that feels rare on this show where you're kind of given the opportunity to vote your mind, and so there's often like three or four names being thrown out all the way up until the very end. For it to come down to those two was just an incredible
Astonishing,
moment
really.
of TV. Really, yeah, exactly. Astonishing is the right word. I was
Those are the moments
literally
that make you
on
think
the
how
edge
much
of
of the
my seat.
producers. Yeah, it's easy to think the producers must have somehow massaged that, but I don't know that they could have. I mean, they know what the votes are going to be to an extent, I think. Like, they must be running the numbers. They have a sense that
Hmm.
something might come up, but I think they're also very good at just maximizing the opportunities that come along. Great cliffhanger to the penultimate episode.
Hmm.
Interesting thing I just realized looking at the fact that Roxy was the last person murdered. There were, in fact, only 7 murders all season.
Yeah,
There were
there were far fewer.
13 banishments. Two, like, for every 2 people banished, 1 person was murdered. That's really surprising to me.
Yeah, it's much more even in past seasons. And
Yeah.
I guess that's the power of the shield changes that they made this season to make them much more desirable. In past seasons, a shield has been
And
a
much
bit of
more
a game
available.
of chance. And yeah, exactly, much
Yeah.
more available. But I'm trying to think, even on the missions where like no one will be murdered if no one takes a shield, someone ended up taking a shield. So how did that happen?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We'll sit down and crunch numbers. We won't sit down and crunch numbers. Things I won't be doing. I won't be crunching numbers, and I won't be making the Steven supercut of him saying, I don't know what to do.
Someone will do that for us.
Someone's got to do that. Uh,
And now, I mean, okay, let's not talk about the finale. There were some really cool things that
no.
happened first. I want to talk about challenges. I
Hmm.
think we had three amazing challenges back to back to back. I really love the carousel, and more so for the the narration that was happening from Claudia, who's shouting things like "Rip the penguin open," which is what I shout to my penguin cookies whenever they come back from the UK.
Yeah, it's musical chairs. It's just dressed up musical chairs. But
Yeah.
hey, you know what? It's classic. We're in Squid Game territory here. Yeah, I love anything that makes people spin around really fast and then fall over.
Mhm.
And yeah, having people tearing up like a fairground was. I can't stop thinking when we watch the UK Traitors how the Americans are going to
I
do it.
know.
I feel like
I
that
know.
shouldn't be on my mind. I shouldn't
It
care.
absolutely was on mine as well. Like, how much is Mara going to throw up after being spun around once, let alone twice?
Speaking of throwing up, let's talk about the Firish Monument Challenge.
My God. Well, that's back-to-back throw-ups because poor Jack had to walk back after the carousel challenge
Yes.
because he was so ill because he lasted the longest and rightfully won the shield.
Yeah.
And then we go into the Firish Monument run up a mountain challenge, and poor James. I mean,
For
this
James.
guy talks a lot and had quite a run on this show,
I don't know how anyone ever thought he might be a traitor, honestly, because
honestly.
he never kept a thought in his head that he didn't express out loud. Like it's just and he didn't have strategies, he just had reactions. He was a
Yeah,
reflexive thinker at all
I just
times.
it really makes me like understand how I might accidentally play this game, you know? Like he's like the audience analog, like, oh, I could do this. And then you see how you would do this, and you're like, oh man,
Not well.
I would truly just say everything that comes across the front of my mind and ruin my game from the first episode.
You're a James, I'm a Jade. We're both doomed.
Yeah, exactly. Put us on the show. I like that they traders were given opportunities to sabotage this one. I don't like that they didn't take advantage of that, but I do like that James accidentally set himself up and played as a traitor would in this game. So they get to this part
Yeah.
where they're going up the mountain, they're collecting rocks, which are translate into gold, and they have to fill a shield. And at one point along the hike up this mountain, there's some hanging pots that are filled with more gold. And for every pot they break, they get 20 gold back. And so, what an opportunity for a trader to like be like, I keep missing. I keep throwing
Well,
away all my gold so that the option for murder is available that night. And it ends up being James who's like, no, guys, I got this. And he's like hucking rocks for quite a while, missing.
and he's
And
like, give me more gold. Give me more gold.
the way he throws it, like, and you're like, oh my God, what are you doing?
He's not one of nature's athletes.
No.
Yeah, I feel like they finally struck on how sabotage can work in this game because it's always been one of the things that's missing is that traitors don't expose themselves by sabotaging missions because they also want the money. But if you make it a choice between the money or murder, that's actually a really interesting dynamic. I wouldn't want it to be true for every challenge, but
But
to
there needs
have
to
it
be,
be like, yeah, scatter it through like once a week, once every 3 episodes, have a challenge that does that in some way, or that takes shields off the table. You know, if the traitors sabotage in some way. I mean, obviously, traitors can grab the shields, and that's the way it's worked in the past. If they want to stop people being protected, little hard to do when there's like unlimited shields available.
yeah. Yeah, I can see that being a big change in the next season is a few more opportunities for the traders to get in there and really screw things up for the faithful in
Yeah.
unexpected and in your face ways, like more murders in plain sight, if you will.
And then we have the 007 Road to a Million challenge.
Honestly,
This,
about the same quality, but it's so much better on this because this does feel like and I love this show. This feels like a cheaper show than 007 Road to a Million, and
it
yet it
is.
is the same mission that they have done on that
Yeah.
other show.
And like 5 million more people are watching it than ever watched Road to a Million.
Exactly.
So yeah, they had to race their speedboats to get to the buoys with when the green smoke was
Yoo-hoo!
showing,
Other
and then
times.
they had to go up a dam by ladder and down the dam by rope, facing forward down a vertiginous slope and get on a helicopter. And all of this was timed. And did Faraz do it, or did they just edit him out? I don't know. Some real Mama Kelsey stuff going on here with a
I
person just disappearing from the challenge.
I like the conceit of the timer. I don't know if there was a timer for this challenge,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like, particularly when they show like the countdown happening and he has 1 minute to catch them at the end of the dam and he's
yeah,
still climbing the rope and you can see how far away they are. And it's like, I couldn't do that in a minute. And an athlete probably couldn't do that in a minute, but
yeah,
Claudia cheers for him all the same and they get the money. And yeah, you know what? We need the timer to keep, I guess, the sense of anticipation alive,
yeah.
but we don't really need the timer. We just want to see these people win the money, get the mission.
It's pure nonsense. Claudia saying you have 5 minutes to get the helicopter, and then, all right, now we're going to run through health and safety. Everyone's going to get fitted for a harness. We'll do adjustments. We'll do security checks on that. Does anyone need a Dramamine?
Yeah,
Clearly, this
that.
is not 5 minutes. I love the look of these challenges. We watched this last night with our friends, and everyone was freaking out about the ladder. And I'm like, it's a ladder. How hard can it be, Michael?
I I would struggle. A rope ladder is surprisingly difficult to climb.
But that had solid wooden struts. You can
Okay,
put your weight on the wood.
fair, fair. But at the same time, it was a really windy day, and you can see it like twisting with them. I just know that when I was in grade 7, there was we went to like a day camp kind of activity, uh, and there was a ropes course, and I got like 5 steps up the rope ladder, and I looked down and I froze and I started crying and I was like, I can't do this. This is too high. I'm frightened.
Yeah.
And like, and a counselor had to come and like peel me off the ladder and bring me back to the earth. And I was so embarrassed. And that is how I would play that game.
And a counselor gave you a brochure for the art therapy classes and
Truly. It's like, have you
this
tried
way, my
theater?
darling.
Yeah.
Dance and movement. Come on. Yeah, no, I love ladders. I was the kid that was scrambling up things.
Wow. Very different
Would I do
players.
well in this challenge? Probably not, because I would be out of breath after the second round.
Okay, the actual going down the dam is terrifying, right? Like that would
Mhm.
be a real challenge. And I love that they all struggled with it. But I mean, Rachel, who admittedly had the biggest fear of heights, the way that she got into it and powered down that dam was so awesome to see. And it's like, that's a winner.
I'm pretty sure Faraz actually had the biggest fear of heights because he didn't do it.
Right. Okay, true. He did get stuck on there, right? Like there was this
I don't think we
long
ever saw
shot
him descend.
there was a long shot of like of four of them like
Yeah,
halfway to three-quarters of the way through, and you could just see Faraz literally dangling, like his feet weren't touching anything. He must have gotten stuck, and they were like, "Okay, well, scrap the part about the timer. We're gonna say you all did it."
yeah. Just suddenly he was there running for the helicopter at the bottom of the hill, and at no point did we see him progressing down
Poor
the
baby.
rope. Poor baby. He's just a baby. And speaking of babies and murdering them all and breaking their poor baby hearts, let's talk about the finale, the final round table and the flames, the fire pit.
The God, I mean, just full spoiler territory because
Yeah.
I have to talk about the winners and how they did it. The way that Steven and Rachel stood by each other was
Mhm.
unexpected and brilliant and
And
beautiful
essential.
and essential. Like, this is the first time two traders have won at the
Yeah.
same time. This is the first female UK trader win as well. Just want to shout that out. That's really cool. But they had everyone like spinning around in circles all the way until the very end. They played this game so well that even when they were on everyone's lips, on everyone's minds, they managed to swing people just far enough
Yeah.
away that they could vote as a block and twist it in their favor. And how they do that with Faraz and Jack was, I mean, devastating to those two
Yeah.
handsome young men, but so brilliant. And to watch Stephen and Rachel like turn to Jack and be like, "I'm sorry, you'll understand why I voted this way." Oh my God. Brutal, but what catharsis at the same time. I have been cheering for Steven and Rachel since episode 1, and I think the world has. You could see how, like, how together they were
They
and how
deserve it.
much love they have for each other and how much fun
Yeah.
they had playing this game together, and they just did it so well that they really did deserve this win.
This is a case of the Traitors winning because they played the game well. And even when they played it badly, they adapted really well. I want to spare a thought for Jade, who, she made it all the way to the last round table. I feel like the reason she made it all the way to the last round table was because she was never getting past that last round table. Like she was always going to get banished. She was never going to get murdered, and there was no chance that she was going to be standing at that fire pit at the end. But what a rough ride that young woman had, and how devastating that she remained so poised for so much of the season, and then absolutely broke down at the end, and quite understandably so. I feel like she had an almost Ron Funches-esque experience of the Traitors,
Truly.
and that's not cool. I really hope someone was close by to give her a hug. Maybe Judy was off stage being like, "I'll be your mom, love."
I have so many feelings about that, Andrew. Yeah, so in Survivor, we have like the player character that they call the GOAT, which is not the greatest of all time, but the one that gets dragged to the end. And unfortunately, that
Right.
was Jade in this season. And you really have to feel for her. They really made her fight every episode to stay there. And like you said, towards the end, she must have known. She must have known that there was no path to victory for
Yeah.
her. And God, it's like, "Just kill me, just kill me!" I would be shouting.
Yeah. Yeah, she was resigned to it, I think, but it still felt like she was being played with, like a cat with a mouse situation where she wasn't getting given the release that she needed of just finally being banished. It's so harsh.
She had so much dignity and class playing this game, and I watched her reaction to the Traitors reveal this morning because this was one of those cases where I need to know that this person is okay. And she had a really good laugh that it
Oh,
was Stephen and Rachel, and I think she's gonna be okay. These shows have to
I mean,
hire
she's
some.
resilient.
She's very resilient. These shows better be hiring like top-notch psychologists
Yeah.
for the post-season debrief because there is no way you could go back to the real world right afterwards and be a normal person, not looking over your shoulder and not wondering what everyone is thinking of you. I am sure that these people get the help they need to integrate back into the real world.
Should we talk about some of our best and worst contestant-wise of the year?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who do you think was the best faithful this season?
I mean, it has to be. It's surprising because he wasn't a thing until about 2/3 of the way through, but Jack did play the best faithful game, like,
True, except
but
at the end.
except at the end, it turns out that Faraz had nailed it in the last 2 weeks. He knew who the traitors were. He was just his own worst enemy. So, I don't really know how to answer this question. Who do you think is the best faithful?
I might give it to Matthew because he
Mm.
had strategies. He was clever. He stayed under the radar for much of the time. Yeah, he knew the game he wanted to play, and he was pretty good at it, but obviously not great. Not didn't land. But I think he played a really interesting game. I think if best faithful is the faithful that has uh, a great approach, then I think it goes to Matthew.
That's a good choice, and I think it would have gone down totally differently if there had been a murder following his declaration to the traitors that he wanted to be
Right.
one of them. If Jesse had been murdered in that very next episode, then I think they would have
Yeah,
recruited Maddie. And that would have been something to watch. Again, lessons for
yeah.
next time. Let the players dictate how the season should go, and then watch how it turns out.
For my worst faithful, you
So
maybe
many
know
choices.
who I'm going to say because I was screaming about it last night. Harriet's my worst faithful because in the same, basically the inverse of Matthew, she looked like she had a plan. She looked like she had an approach. And the two of those, when you look at those two asking their questions in the confessional, Matthew, his questions seemed like weird and impossible. And Harriet went in with this really precise speech and seemed like she was going to be fearsome and then imploded the very next day and went home. And it's like, that was such a waste of your talents, Harriet.
Yeah, I watched a clip of that again today of her implosion, and she just cracks. Like,
Yeah.
she starts playing detective out of nowhere, and everyone sees right through it. Well, they're not seeing right
Yeah.
through it. They just see someone who is acting so different all of a sudden that how could you not be like, is this person a traitor? It was just incredible gameplay. I also want to throw James into the mix as worst faithful because he was such a bad liar, but he was also so all over the place that no one knew what he was or what he was going to say or
Yeah.
what he was going to do. And he caused so much chaos that it really helped the Traitors win this game. Truly.
It did. It did. Hard to have a best traitor when there were only two traitors that made it to the end.
Oh, I
I think
thought you
they
were
just
just going to
share
say
the
full
honors.
stop, just two Traitors, because who was the other one?
There were four traitors in the show, and I feel like we can pick a worst traitor, but I mean, maybe you think it's just Rachel takes it. I think Stephen deserves to be acknowledged just as much as she does, though, honestly.
I mean, for worst traitor, like Hugo was pretty bad, but no,
But
Hugo was
Fiona,
the worst traitor. Fiona was the most entertaining traitor, I think.
I think those two can share worst traitor as well.
Yeah.
Honors even across the board for the traitors. Who is your villain of the season?
Oh, I think the villain of the season has to be Amanda. For one,
Absolutely.
she's a cop, and two, she's a bad cop.
Yeah. I mean, all cops are bad, right? That's what that stands for, ACAP. Um, Amanda put the target on Jade with no evidence whatsoever and hounded her relentlessly until she was kicked out. And Jade suffered the consequences of that to the end of the game. And the
Yeah.
fact that Amanda is a cop means there is no excusing her behavior. And this is the second time, I think, that we've seen a police officer doggedly pursue things that just aren't true on the show. And it's made
On
me
the
think, oh
show,
my
on
God,
the
we
show. Okay, good.
on the
I'm so
show,
glad that's
yeah.
the way you ended
In
that.
real life,
Yeah.
just twice that's
Just the
happened.
twice.
But like both times, I'm like, we need to reopen the files. We need to go back to every single person that was ever convicted based on this person's testimony or investigation. Because it's like, oh
Honestly,
my God, you've got nothing.
it's
It
one
makes me
thing to
angry.
be wrong and strong like a Ron Funches. It's another thing to be wrong and strong like a cop.
Yeah. Maybe no more cops on this show. Maybe we just don't need that.
That'll
Put a
never
bounty
happen.
hunter on there or something.
A whole dog the bounty
And
hunter on the next season of US Traitors.
I think he's dead, isn't he? Uh,
The ghost of Dog the bounty hunter. Okay, moving on.
I only have one more category, but it's the most contentious, and that is
God,
hunk of the season.
this is difficult. This is
Yeah.
really difficult. There were so many
They had
hot
almost a
ones.
whole calendar of hunks in this
Oh
season.
yeah.
Crazy.
God, like Hunk would have to be Maddie or Ross. They're both like strong, beautiful men whose living is made on being strong, beautiful men.
True.
But for the person who captured my heart, maybe he's the twunk of the season, but it's got to be Steven. I really, really love Steven's sense of style,
Yeah.
the confidence in which he walks. Well, I mean, he had such a lack of confidence throughout the show, but the way, but he does have a sort of confidence about him, and and
Presentationally, he's confident.
yeah, but he's like he's funny and he's witty and he's self-deprecating, which I mean I really relate to. Uh, and he's just gorgeous. He's got gorgeous
He is gorgeous.
Celtic features, and that is my
I
poison.
said
I'm
last
so
night,
sorry.
he looks like a Tracy brother,
Yes,
including the way he dresses.
in the Thunderbirds.
So,
Yes,
in the Thunderbirds, yes.
and his flappy little
I'm
head.
gonna,
I mean, he could do it.
yeah, the way he walked like that. But I have to go with my boy Reese just because he was my heartbreak of the season. He's
Oh,
such a cutie, so sweet and so maligned. He was like Aaron if Aaron had failed dismally from season one. Aaron, poor boy, another one that needed Judy to come and give him a hug at the end of the.
God bless. Yeah, I mean, he's a hunky footy player. He could get it, and a
I'll
sweet
be
shop
following his Instagram
assistant.
with interest. And a
I
sweet shop
mean,
assistant.
my God, we could play around a footy and then bask
Go
in the
back to the tuck
glow
shop
of
and
yeah of lots of sweet.
have a bag of lemon sherbets together. Oh, anyway,
What an amazing season! I
great
love
season.
this. I love. There's not been a season I haven't loved, but this is the season I've been the most engaged with. I think.
Yeah. Let me float something by you because there's been a bit of chatter about this possibility. All Stars Traitors. There have been 4 seasons of regular Traitors, 1 celebrity Traitors in the UK. They could easily do an All Stars. And it's been discussed online enough that I feel like the conversation must be happening at the BBC because it feels very like the celebrity Traitors discussion where everyone's like, oh, this is a no brainer. And it turns out, yeah, of course it's a no brainer. Celebrity Traitors, there are 2 versions of the show that people are talking about. One is just everyone who's ever been on the show is a possible contender. The other is just the traitors. You make an entire cast of traitors, and only then 2, 3 of them get to be traitors, which was put to Freddie in an interview, and he's like, "Yeah, I was a traitor, but I don't want to be on that show.
Yeah,
I
well,
was the
look at
worst
Freddie's
traitor.
run. Yeah.
I was the worst traitor of all time. I didn't want to be a traitor, and I do not want to be in a room with Harry and Rachel and Mina.
I want that.
Can you
We all
imagine?"
want that. And
Oh
can we
boy.
take the crown off of Freddie's head? I don't think he's any longer the worst traitor. Well,
Well,
no,
Linda's the worst.
he had a pretty bad run. Yeah, there's no denying. Okay, I would love to see either version. I would so happily watch all of the traitors compete against each other, but then we would need a few more seasons, I think, to build up the roster. And that is possible. That could be like a season 10 kind of thing. But doing an all-stars, and I would happily allow some of the celebrity UK traders back into an all stars. I think that like let's let them all compete against each other. That would be so fun.
They played the game like they wanted to play the game. That's the thing about the UK celebrities. Like they're
Yeah.
really into it. And also, let's put Alan and Paloma back on the show
Oh
and see
my
how it plays out.
God. Yes, make Paloma a traitor. Oh my God,
Yes,
Paloma
Paloma
killed
killed
Alan.
Alan. Celia Emery and Fiona together in the turret. It would be,
Brilliant. Okay,
Thursday Murder Club.
we've got to move on and do just a little debrief of the US. Thankfully, we just have one episode to catch up on.
Yes, just one episode this week, episode 6
Yes.
of Traitors US. So spoilers for that hereafter. It's very much the Ron and Rob and Colton and Lisa show.
Yeah,
This last
absolutely.
episode, it was all about the dynamics between those 4 characters. What were your takeaways?
I mean, Rob once again proving himself to be an ally to people in unexpected ways, and
Mhm.
he and Ron had a conversation of Ron telling Rob, "Oh, you're just like a good old boy, like one of the good ones." And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, like Rob is sticking up for the queer people in the room. He's sticking up for the person of color, and he's he's doing it in such a way that is not just entirely believable, but is like really heartfelt and meaningful. And it's just so nice to see because you see that face and you hear that accent. And with everything going on in world politics, I am conditioned to think I probably shouldn't like this guy.
Yeah.
And he is proving me wrong every opportunity. And thank God, because he's so beautiful. He's so beautiful. It's not
I have
fair
been,
that he's this good a person and that good looking.
yeah, I have been resisting falling in love with Rob on the basis of I don't know his politics and I don't want, like, we already have Colton giving me awkward boners in this season. I don't need to double down on that, but no, it turns out Colton can go swing. Rob is where it's at. He's just the sweetest, nicest, and most thoughtful guy. Like, he seems genuinely smart. And I wish he would. He's going to die from a snake bite at some point, and that makes me very
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
But no, unproblematic Rob so
Robbie
far.
Bobby.
God. Did you see Ron's big announcement this week?
Yes, I did. So Ron, immediately following his banishment, went on to Instagram and said, "Well, I got my autism diagnosis,
Yeah.
and it helps make so much sense for this journey for me." And
Yeah.
yeah, it's lovely to see him embrace it, but it's also so sad to see how he was treated on that show because of that. And and I think I mean, I consider myself slightly neurodivergent. I'm not gonna take that mantle from anyone. I don't think it's really fully on me, but anyone who's even slightly neurodivergent could see that there is something a little neurodivergent about Ron. And
Yeah.
that is what everyone in that house picked up on, and they picked on him for it. And it was such shameful behavior and not unexpected in this cast.
Ron Funches and Shane Hollon are the autism representation that we need in the world right now.
Mm,
Yeah, great that he's had that diagnosis. It should be so much easier for people to get these diagnoses. It's as bad in Canada as it is in the US as it is in the UK. Colton versus Lisa, the kaiju fight that nobody needs to care about. Like, whoever loses, we win. I've seen so many people get like weirdly partisan about it online, like, oh, Colton's being a misogynist. No, you just know Colton's history. Lisa is a genuinely shocking character.
yeah.
She is the character. She is the person she's pretending she's not when she says, "Oh, I turn that on for the cameras, and I can be that if you want me to be." No, you're Lisa Rinna. Husband is Harry Hamlin. You claim you're an actress, and yet when Colton says, "I can protect you in the round table if you protect me in the tower," she goes, "Oh, oh." She does full Winona Ryder, the Golden Globes range of faces. It's like, yeah, oh, you're an actor? Okay. Okay, that's maybe the most convincing act you've ever given is saying that. Because, oh boy, yeah, let them both go down in flames at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to. I think
Yeah,
Rob once again made the right move, writing Lisa's name down at the round table, and that is going to haunt him for maybe one more episode because I don't see a path for Lisa to survive much longer than that.
housewives reacted to that like they are housewives, like
Yep,
you betrayed the family, and he didn't. He did exactly what he needs to do to be a successful traitor, which is look like a faithful.
exactly.
But they're not going to acknowledge that at all because that would mean that it was right to write Lisa's name down, and you don't go against the housewives unless you do, in which case it's fine because the housewives did it.
1,000%. I guarantee that both
Lunatics.
Candice and Lisa are going to start throwing Rob's name out next week.
Yeah,
And it's going to sink all three of their games. And that is the worst part about it, is because one of
yeah.
them has been playing the game well, one of them has been flying under the radar, and one of them is Lisa Rinna.
She's Lisa Rinna. The cabin challenge was as much fun as I hoped it would be. I feel
Yeah.
like I could spend more time watching these people streaking and trying to pick cockroaches out of their hair.
Yeah. It's very humbling. Uh and
Jam
it's
Jam's
fun.
conflict over the shield, hilarious.
Oh my God. The way that he tried to convince Maura and she wasn't picking up on it and he's like, "Okay, I guess we're going for the money."
You have to tell things very clearly tomorrow. And by the way, I mean, Rob saying bad times for Robbie Bobby.
It's already
Oh
a
my
gift.
God. If I didn't love him by now, that would have been the final straw. He's so hot.
We missed it on our watch through last. Like you had already seen the episode.
I'd already seen it.
I was coming over after work, and you put it on so that you could put it on again so that I could watch it. We could watch it together. And we missed that line the first time, and we made all of our friends sit there and so that you could like go fast forward through the entire episode again for a third time for you, just so we could get to that line. I love you, Andrew.
I know what matters in this culture, and it's bad times for Robbie Bobby. Any more thoughts on this episode before we take our
Alan
bows and
Cumming
head
has
back to the
said
castle?
Alan Cumming has said that the next episode is maybe
Yes.
his favorite episode that they've done, and that is the banquet. And the preview promises it's going to be
Yes.
explosive, and I cannot wait.
It's a Real Housewives reunion special midway through the season.
This is
And
the promise
Cotton's
of
outfit
the
looks
celebrity
awful.
US. Oh, it's so bad. This is the promise of the US celebrity trader
Yeah.
is that the fights are going to be real and someone may get hurt physically.
Someone might be removed from the show not for banishment or murder reasons.
Yeah, for threats of violence against another person.
Yeah, saying something really egregiously offensive. Well, no, Michael Rappaport is already gone. So, all right. So we will be continuing our Traitors coverage a little more intermittently now with the US. Well, I'm pretty sure we'll have an episode next week to react to the dinner party.
Yeah.
That seems like a given. But in the meantime, we'll be waiting for news of the next Celebrity Traitors UK, because that's going to be probably most of a year away from us by now. And yeah, I think we're going to enter the long Traitors drought after US is done, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. That's okay. We've got to film more great content.
So yeah, if you enjoyed our Traitors coverage, please check out some of our other coverage. We do a lot of movie reviews. We just recently discussed Sinners, 16-time Oscar-nominated Sinners, the most Oscar-nominated movie of all time. And we had a lot of thoughts about that. We also had a lot of thoughts about Tron Ares, not the most Oscar-nominated film of all time.
Why?
So if you watch those episodes, you'll understand. So thank you so much for watching. Please do like, rate, subscribe, and tell a friend about this podcast. And until next time, kiss, kiss.
Bang, bang.
If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and subscribe to this channel. You can follow Kiss Kiss Bang Bang on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at KKBBPod, or email us at kisskissbangbangpod@gmail.com.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is recorded in Toronto on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabeg, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples.